Hi everybody and happy Friday. Welcome to our last video discussion board for History 530. Time went by very quickly. But I wanted to discuss for our final discussion board my research project. I entitled it Conversion and Resistance, the Native American Response to the Establishment of Christianity in Early Colonial North America. Through that title, I suspect that you can glean that I was very much interested in discussing how the native people of North America, particularly in the New England, Massachusetts area, responded to the influx of settlers, particularly Puritan settlers, that came to the area. And not only how did they respond to the influx in the population and the changes we all know about the disease and the land acquisitions and things like that, but how did they respond to the spread of Christianity? Because the Puritans came obviously very much envisioned with making the new continent, the new world, but particularly Puritans that were in New England in comparison to some of the Chesapeake settlements and other southern settlements that were mostly Anglican. The Puritan settlers in New England came with the purpose of spreading Christianity, showing as a reflection to England how Christianity should have been reformed if they had had the opportunity to do it in England, but they were persecuted and whatnot. And so they came here, but like I said, but kind of to really set an example, the city upon the hill, as they say, of what Christianity could be in the New World. And so obviously, in how they came to the New World, they came with those very strong sentiments. And I thought it would be an interesting project or research to find out or to explore, I should say, how the native tribes in that area responded to the push or the missionary push of Christianity onto their tribes and into their people. My hypothesis is basically that it wasn't going to go well, right? It wasn't going to be good for anybody, and that there would be conflict, and that the engagement was not going to be a positive one. And while I think overall that's probably still an accurate hypothesis in the sense that, as I mentioned before, we know that there was land acquisition. We know that many tribes were decimated, not by the push of Christianity, but just by the presence of settlers in general, to such a degree that some tribes were decimated, and with very few people left and very few cultural ties left to their indigenous culture. And so ultimately, I do think that the hypothesis that the research shows that the hypothesis that it was not a positive thing for most people involved. I do think, though, and I point this out in my paper, that there were some notable exceptions of I guess harmonious is the best way I can put it, is harmonious interactions between the Puritans and the native tribes there. I focus mostly on the Massachusetts tribes, but there were many other tribes that were susceptible, I guess, to Christian influence and Christian conversion during this period. But for the most part, as I noted in the paper, it it didn't go as well as the missionaries thought, and it also, in terms of the numbers that could be converted, and it also did not go well for indigenous tribes who, in some cases, fought back, or in some cases, as in praying towns, acquiesced, I guess is the other word that I'll use, to the influx of the Christian culture. It was a great course. I've learned a lot, and in particular with this research, it's been very, very interesting to see the kind of dichotomy of, or not even dichotomy, the difference of what's going on between the different tribes and how they responded to the influx of Christianity in the early 1600s. Thank you, everybody, and have a good weekend.